The way it's going to work today is the same as yesterday, with the lay people paying respects to the triple gem and then going straight into the taking of the 5 precepts. It should all be on that printout there. And then, the taking of the 5 precepts, chanting of Parittas, and then the reading out of the Katina Sangatana announcement, the 3 languages, and followed by a Dhamma talk. So a very nice early afternoon, Katina afternoon, and during the Paritta chanting, just allowing the chanting to wash over you, so using that as a meditation.
I'm walking into the hall, and beside my seat there should be little yellow things. Get me through the chanting.
Oh, the
Cough throat water. Yeah.
ขออนุญาตเป็นตัวแทนถวายก่อนคนที่ไม่ได้มา
Okay.
ไม่ต้องยก
จะถวายหรือเปล่า
ถวายมันยกแค่ผ้าเลย
แล้วแต่
มันหนักหลวงพ่อ
นั่นสิแหละกว่าจะได้ให้ออกกำลังกายหน่อย
These are the belts they sent. They're quite good.
อันนี้ด้วยต้องผ้าประคตมีแค่ผ้า
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Apple was explaining it to me, and I was looking at the one there. I mean, it's a fantastic workmanship.
Yeah, very good color
Yeah.
as well. It's
Yeah,
something we don't
everything about
have in stores.
Yeah, it's everything about it is really, really good.
Okay, so it looks like we've all come back together.
Perfect.
So without further ado, can invite Umi to begin reading the paying respects to Buddha Dhamma Sangha and the custom of 5 precepts.
อิมินาสการเรนะตังสการเรนะตังพุทธังอภิปูชยามะตังพุทธังอภิปูชยามะอิมินาสการเรนะอิมินาสการเรนะตังธัมมังอภิปูชยามะตังธัมมังอภิปูชยามะอิมินาสการเรนะอิมินาสการเรนะตังสังฆังอภิปูชยามะตังสังฆังอภิปูชยามะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอภิวาเทมิพุทธังภะคะวันตังอภิวาเทมิสว่างขาโตภะคะวตาธัมโมสว่างขาโตภะคะวตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมสสามิธัมมังนัมสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมามิสังฆังนะมามิมยังพันเตติสรเนนะสหมยังพันเตติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะทุติยัมปิมะยังพันเตทุติยัมปิมะยังพันเตติสรเนนะสหติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตติยัมปิมะยังพันเตมะยังพันเตติสรเนนะสหติสรเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะปัญจศีลานิยาจามะ
This is the opportunity to determine the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts for this auspicious occasion at the Abhayagiri Monastery for this series of Katina events. So those who'd like to join in, please feel most welcome to. If you wish to just sit and watch and listen, that's quite all right as well. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tisarana gamanan nitithang.
Amapante.
Pranatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Pranatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Atinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Atinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kamesu michachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Kamesu vichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Sura Meraya Majapamadhatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Sura Miraya Majapamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Imani Pancha Sikkhapadani Silena Sugatinyanti Silena Poga Sambara Silena Nebutinyanti Tasama Silang Visodaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Is that for love voice? Love or husband?
Equipped.
Vipati paditahaya sappha samati siddhiya sappha dukkha vinasaya paritang puthamang phalang วิปติปฏิภาหายะสัพพะสัมปสิทธิยาสัพพะทะยะวินาสายะปริตังพรูธมังคลังวิปติปฏิภาหายะสัพพะสัมปติสิทธิยาสัพพะโลคาวินาสายะปริตังพรูธมังคลัง
After I call the devas, could I invite you to lead the Parittas?
Yeah.
Paritavana metang sameta baranda Avikita chitta paritang banando Sage kamecha rupe girisi karatate chantalike vimane Dipe rate chagame taruana gahane gehavatum hikete Bumma jayantu deva chalatala visame yakaganda banaga Titanta santike yang muniwara vachanang sadavome sunantu Buddha dasana kalo ayam baranta Dhamma savana kalo ayam baranta Sangha parirupasana kalo ayam baranta
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo Sabhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi dutiyampi dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi dutiyampi saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi tatiyampi dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi tatiyampi saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi yocakumā mohammala bhagado sammang vabuddho sukhato vimutto marasapasa vinimochayando papesike mang janatang vinayang buddhang varanda Sirasanamami loka sanatanja venaya kanja tante jasate jaya siddhi hotu sabandaraya chavina samendu dhammo dajoyo viyatasa sadhu dase siloka savisuddhi magang niyani koda mandala sadari Sata vaho santikaro suchinno dhammang varanda Sirasanamami moha padalang upasandadahang dande jasate Jaya siddhi hotu sabandaraya chavina samendu sadhammasena sugatanugoyo loka sapapu patile saceta sando sayang sandiniyo jako jasawakada dhammang viditang karoti sangang varandang sirasanamami buddhanu buddhang samasila diting tejasa tejaya siddhi hotu sabandaraya ยาชวินาสเนนเถอนะโมอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะมะเหสิโนนะโมโอธรรมดัมมาสสวะคาทัสเสวะเทนินะโมมหาสังฆาสัพพิวิสุทธิสีลเจติโนนะโมโหมาทยารันดาสรัตนะทยาสสาดุขังนะโมโหมคาทิทาสทาสวาตุตยาสปินโมกาลาปมาเวนวิกาจันตุปาดวานโมกาลานุมาเวนสุวัติโหตุสัพพันดานโมคาลาสเทเชนเวเดมิโหมิเทจวาเสวนาจมาลานังบันดิตานันจะเสวนาปูชาจะปูชนียานังเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังปฏิรูปเดสวาโสจะภูเบจะกตปุญญาตาหัตถสัมมาปณิดิจเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังบาหุสาชัญจะเสปัญจเวนโยจะสุเสขิโตสุมาสิทาจะยาวาชาเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังตาปิตุอุปาทานังโพธดาราสสังฆโหอนาคุลาชกัมมันดาเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังทานัญชดัมมจริยาจัญญาตกานัญชสังฆโหอนวัจจาริคัมมานิเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังอารติเวรติปาปามาจปานาจะสัญญโมอาปมาโดจะตัมเมสุเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังกาลโบจิวะโตจะสันตุติจักตัญญุตาคาเลนะธัมมาสวนังเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังคันเดจะโสวจาสนาสมนานันจะดาสนังคาเลนะธัมมสาคาชาเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังกโปจะพรัมมจริยัญจะหริยสัจจานดาสนังเนมานสัจจกิริยาจะเหตัมมังกลมุตตมังพุทธาสโลกดัมเมหิเจตังยาสนคัมปทิยโสกังเวรจังเขมะเอตัมมังกลมุตตมังเอตาเดสานิคาทวานสาบะธัมมปราจิตาสาบัตโสทิงกาชันดิทันเดสังมังกลมุตตมันเดียงกินชีเวดังนิตวาหุลังวาสังเกสุวายังรัตนังปณิทังนโนสัมมังอาทิตตากเตนะหิดัมมิบุญเดรัตนังปณิทังเอเตนะสาเจนะสวัติโหตุกยังเวลากังอมตังปณิทังยะดาจกาสาเขมุนีสัมมาหิโตนะเทนะดัมเมนะสมาธิกินจิดัมมิดัมเมรัตนังปณิทังเอเทนะสาเจนะสวัติโหตุยังบุตเสโตปริวันนะเยสุจิงสัมมาดิมานันดาริคัญญมะอุสัมมาดินาเทนะสมโมนะเวจติดัมมิดัมเมรัตนังปณิทังเอเทนะสาเจนะสวัติโหตุเยปุกลาหัตสัตตังนะสัตตาจัตตาริเอธานิโยกานิหนติเตดากินัยสุกทาสสาวกาเอเทสุจินนานิมหาปลานิดัมมิสังเกรัตนังปณิทังเอ เทนะสาเชนะสวัสติโหตุเยสัมปยุตตามนัสสะดัลเทนะนิกามิโนโกธรรมสาสนังมิเตปาติภาตาหมทังวิกายลาดามุดาเนบุติงบุญจมานาหิรัมปิสังเกรัตนังมณีตังเอเทนะสาเชนะสวัสติโหตุขีนังโบราณังนวังนาติสัมภวังวิราตเจตายติเคปวัสสมิงเอกีนาบิจาอเวรุลิจันดานิบันดิติรายทายัมบริโภอิดังวิสังเกรัตนังมณีทังเอเทนะสาเชนะสวัสติโหตุเมทัญญสาบโลกัสมิงมานะสัมมาวะเยปริมาณังอุดังอโดจติริยจะสัมมาดังอเวลังอสปาตังเดทัญชลังเนสินโนวาสยาโนวายาวทาสวิกตมิโดยทังสติงอดิเทยพรหมเมทังวิหารังอินดมะอุเดทินจานุปกรรมศีลวาดาสเนนะสัมมาโนกาเมสุเวนยเกตังอหิจาตุกะมะสยังบุญเรติติทุกขปัตตาชนินทุกขมายาปัตตาชนิมปายาโสกปัตตาชนิโสกหุนตุสามเมปิปานิโนเอตาวตาจะอัมเมหิสัมปดังบุญญสัมปดังสาเบเดวานุโมสันตุสัพพสังมาทิเสติยาดานังดารันตุสังดายสีลังราคันตุสาบดาภาวนาบิรตาหุนตุกาชันตุเดวตากตาสาเมบุญดาบาลปัตตาภาเชกันัญชยังบาลังอรหันทานัญชเทเจนรักขังบันดามิสามาโสอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโรปุริสธัมมสารติสัตตาเทวมนุสสานังพุทโธภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวตาธัมโมสันติติโกอาคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโหปัญญิโกปัจจตังเวทิตาโพวินยูหิติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆหุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาณปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะดิดังจัตตาริปุริสยุคานิยัตตปุริสปุกลาเอสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆหุนายโยภาหุนายโยนาคินายโยอัญชลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังบุญญาเขตังโลกัสสาติมหาการุณิโกนาโตหิทายสัมมปานินางโมริตวาปารมีสาภาปาโตสัมโพธิโมตตมังเอเทนะสัจวัจเจนะโหตุเตจยมังกลังจยันโตโพธิยามูเลสัตยานังนันติวานโนเอวัง งกวังวิจโยโหหิจยะสุจยมังกเลอปราจิตภาลังเกสีเสปัทวิโภคเรอภิเสเกสัมมบุญญาณังอากาปะโทปัมโมดติสุนาคาตังสุมังกลังสุปปาตังสุโหติตังสุกันโนสุโมโหโตจะสุเยตังพรหมจารีสุปันดาคินังกายกัมมังวาจากัมมังบันดาคินังบันดาคินังมโนกัมมังบันดิติเตปันดาคินาปันดาคินานิคาตวานลบันดาเทปันดาคินเนภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสามเดวันดาสามบุญญานุภาเวนัสตาโสติภวันตุเตภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสามเดวันดาสามธัมมานุภาเวนัสตาโสติภวันตุเตภวตุสาบมังกลังราคันตุสามเดวันดาสามสังฆานุภาเวนัสตาโสติภวันตุเต
Be reading out an announcement next. I'll be right back while I go get it.
Well, in that case. Yeah.
Special black tea.
Golden monkey. Anumotana. Golden monkey.
So for this Katina Sangha announcement, that in past years when we didn't do multi-day Katina events, this would be read out during the official Katina ceremony. So this is not the official Katina ceremony where we actually do our Sangha transaction known as Sangha Kama, but it is official Katina offerings. So, and this announcement, I quite enjoy reading it out and listening to it, and it's quite nice to be reminded of. So I thought I would just read it each day before the Katina Sangadana is done by the lay people. So before the Katina ceremony begins, we would like to take this opportunity to explain a little about its origins as a Buddhist custom. The offering of Katina cloth by the laity to the Bhikkhu Sangha is a tradition which has been carried on since the time of the Lord Buddha more than 2,500 years ago. It was established as a ceremonial act to celebrate both the relationship between the laity and the Sangha and the spirit of concord within the Sangha itself. It was first allowed by the Lord Buddha to a group of 30 monks who were observers of the austere practices. They had wished to spend the 3 months' rains retreat with him, but having been unable to reach the monastery where he was staying in time, had to spend the rains nearby. They regretted their missed opportunity, thinking, "The Lord is staying close to us, but we are not getting a chance to see him." Nevertheless, they passed the 3 months harmoniously together, and as soon as they could, despite inhospitable roads and continuing rain, with drenched robes and in a state of weariness, they made their way to Savatthi to see him. Perhaps by way of encouragement and to reward their noble efforts, it was after receiving them that the Katina ceremony and its privileges were established by the Buddha. The Lord Buddha laid down many stipulations in order to make the offering of this cloth and the sewing of it into a robe an act of great importance to both the laity and the Sangha. It is an offering that can be made only once a year at any one monastery, and only where 5 or more bhikkhus have spent the rains retreat together. The cloth must be clean, freely given, and its donation must not have been instigated by the monastic community in any way. Once it has been offered to the Bhikkhu Sangha, it must be cut and sewn into a completely finished robe during the course of that same day. Customarily, all the bhikkhus of that monastery participate in the sewing of the robe. In this way, it becomes an act affirming the harmonious and communal nature of the Sangha. Once it has been sewn, it is then offered to one bhikkhu decided upon by the Sangha as being worthy of the gift. For the laity, the Katina offering is a symbolic expression of their faith in the Sangha and a reaffirmation of their eagerness to cooperate harmoniously together in order to provide for its material needs. According to the Lord Buddha, the Katina cloth is the most meritorious of all material gifts that can be made to a Sangha, bringing superlative benefits to those who have offered it. The Sangha and the laity are now all assembled. If there is to be a Katina ceremony, then now is the time for it to begin. So please, I'd like to offer, invite the announcement, the call and the repeat. People will repeat after her.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
This part you can do all together.
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
อิมังพันเต
อิมังพันเต
สัปปะริวารัง
สัพพะริวารัง
กัทินาจีวรัตถุสัง
กัตถินาจิรารังสุสัง
ภิกขุสังฆสสะ
ภิกขุสังฆสสะ
โอโนชยามะ
โอโนชยามะ
สาธุโนพันเต
สาธุโนพันเต
ภิกขุสังโฆ
ภิกขุสังโฆ
อิมังสัปปะริวารัง
อิมังสัพพะริวารัง
กัทินาจีวรัตถุสัง
กัตถินาจิวารัตุสัง
ปฏิคันหาตุ
ปฏิคันหาตุ
ปฏิฆะเทตวาจะ
ปฏิกาเทชวาจะ
อิมินาทุเสนะ
อิมินาทุเสนะ
กัตถินัง
หัตถินัง
อัฏฐารตุ
อัฏฐารตุ
อัมหาการเจวะ
อัมหากัจเจวะ
มาตาปิตุอาที
มาตาปิตุอาที
นัจจะ
นัจจะ
ยาตะกานัง
ยาตะกานัง
ทีคารตัง
ทีคารตัง
อิตายะ
อิตายะ
สุขายะ
สุขายะ
ข้าแต่พระสงฆ์ผู้เจริญ ข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลาย ขอน้อมถวายผ้ากฐินจีวร กับทั้งบริวารทั้งหลายเหล่านี้แด่พระภิกษุสงฆ์ขอพระภิกษุสงฆ์จงรับผ้ากฐินจีวร กับทั้งบริวารทั้งหลายเหล่านี้ของข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายครั้นรับแล้ว ขอจงปราบกฐินด้วยผ้านี้ เพื่อประโยชน์และความสุข แก่ข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายและญาติทั้งหลาย มีบารดาเป็นต้น
สิ้นกาลนานเทอญ
Repeat together the English, which is at the bottom of the page. We have all
to offer the Katina cross and other requisites to the Sangha. We request that the Sangha receive these offerings of Katina cross and other requisites for our lasting benefits and happiness. We wish to dedicate the well-being coming from our offerings to our relatives and friends, and particularly our parents. May all beings be happy.
Sadhu.
It's always quite wonderful hearing that in English. Yeah. So,
Should they actually offer the cloth?
yes, the cloth should be offered. Yeah, it's, that's another part of it. Yeah, right. Don't want to forget that.
Sorry, I'm just a visitor here.
He's the
Very helpful.
He's the detail person.
So we will invite Jessica to come up to offer Katina cloth. And also everybody, you can also offer that together by touching this Katina. She will represent us on behalf of us. So you can go ahead to do
It's pretty heavy, isn't it? Okay, very good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We invite Ajahn Amaro to give the Katina Anumodana,
So Yata and then just Kali Dadanti.
Yata, and then Kale Dadanti, and then Sabhavatusa.
ตั้งใจรับพรทุกคนยะถาวาริวหาปุราปริปุเรนติสากรังเอวเมวะหิโตตินังเปตนังอุปกปปติอิจิตังปฏิตังตุมหังคิปะเมวะสมิจตุสเบปรันตุสังกัปปะจันโดปันรโสยะถามณิโชTiraso yatha
Vidyo vivajandu
Samarogo vinasatu Mate bhavat vandarayo sukirikayuko bhava Abhivadana silisani changutapachayino Chataro dhamma vadante Ayuvanno sukhang palang
Kale dadanti sapanya vatanyu vitamachara
Alena dinang ariye suhujupute sutateso Vipassana manatasa vipola hondi dakina Yetata hanumodande vaya vacham garundiva Nate nadakina ho nate pipunya sabakino Tasamadale apatiwana chito yata dinang mahapalang Punyani paraloka saming patita hundi pani nandi
Bhavatu sabhamangalang
Rakandu sabadevanda Sama buddhanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te Bhavatu sapamangalang rakantu sapadevata Sama dhammanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te Bhavatu sapamangalang rakantu sapadevata Sama sanghanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te.
moving on would be the next part would be the Dhamma talk. Dhamma talk. Oh, you turned it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That cancels out
it?
this one because they're both on the same system.
Okay. Well, now I know.
Yeah, it's
Dhamma จะโลกาทิปติสหัมปติกัดอันชลีอันทิวารังนายาจทาสันติทสัตนตราปาราชาคชาติกาเทเสตุธัมมังอนุกรรมปิมังประชัง
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะบุตทังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ Well, first of all, just to express my appreciation for everybody making the effort to come and join us on this Katina Day. It's as Ajahn Yaniko read, it's an opportunity to gather and have an occasion where the Sangha and the laity have it's an expression of the communal nature of what we are doing. The Sangha lives independence on the lay community for our physical existence and our opportunity to live the holy life, and the the lay community has the opportunity to help support, but then also to draw close to the examples of and to receive the encouragement for spiritual practice in one's life, and that is really important. And when it's done skillfully, it's a very beautiful thing. It is I think one of the things that the Buddha made much of throughout his life was that the way in which we can honor the Buddha in the most complete way is to practice the Dhamma, and that to whether we are monastics or whether we're lay people, to be able to bring this teaching, the way of training, and the principles of truth into our daily life, into how we live together as human beings, and that's a way in which the Buddha is completely present, even if he physically passed away over 2,500 years ago. It is the practice of the Dhamma that keeps everything alive and keeps up the connection and relationship to the to the Buddha, to the historical Buddha, so that it's our opportunity to be able to continue to draw close to the Buddha, and that is oftentimes it doesn't really matter which or what religion it is. It can become very kind of dry, boring, meaningless, and but it is the whatever, and particularly Buddhism, of course, the purpose of the reason why the Buddha taught was to give others the opportunity, give the tools for living a life of freedom from suffering, freedom from complication, freedom from difficulty, and because whether in the time of the Buddha, of course, people found ways to suffer. 2,500 years have passed, and we're still finding ways to suffer. But you realize that we do have options, and those the teachings are really an opportunity for all of us to bring these fundamental truths of how to view ourselves and view the world around us in a way that doesn't increase suffering, and what it increases is actually happiness and well-being, both personally as well as socially and communally. So that it's a great opportunity. I'm just thinking of actually before the meal offering, talking to Kevin, and we're talking about stories and the importance of stories, because you can have the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, 12 links of dependent origination, and then you're already, your head is hitting your chest. And even though they're all true and they're all really important, but stories are important. So that, say, even like Katina, a Jnaniko reading the story of the Katina, and that has a background. It has these were real people, real kind of events that happened. Can we verify it? Is it? Who knows? But it's a story that is applicable. It's useful to reflect and recollect. The Buddha was concerned about communal harmony. That was something that, say, in his 2,500 years of teaching, that's something that came up over and over and over again. The value that the Buddha placed on communal harmony, so that it doesn't how do you say, the story that was read to me doesn't have a ring of a falsehood or worthy of skepticism. It's quite could be very well could be the case, because that's the Buddha did place just tremendous emphasis on communal harmony, and say one story that comes to mind is say a monk who was an arahant, fully awakened being, and then he thought, well, here I am, fully awakened, fully enlightened. I don't want to go to that Patimokkha meeting again. I've been there, done that, and then of course the meeting took place. The Buddha noticed that the monk was missing, sent word for him to come, and explained it. No, and he explained his logic. And so, here I am, I'm fully awake now, I don't have any more work to do. I said, well, it's not all about you. It's about the legacy that is being passed on. It's about the community. It's about the collective is important. And then that this, unless one is really sick, one is not exempt from going to the Patimokkha is a recitation of the rules that we do on a fortnightly basis. And so that's something that the Buddha placed great importance on, because he wanted to have the community grounded in principles, say not just of Dhamma in terms of say teachings on truth and teachings on practice toward truth, but also what's called Vinaya, which is the kind of rules and social conventions that one lives by. These have an importance. That when the Buddha was passing away, it was Ananda quite say upset, and you've been our leader, and who is going to lead the Sangha now? Who's going to lead the community? And the Buddha, of course, said, well, even while I was alive, I wasn't really leading. But what is going to lead her is the Dhamma and the Vinaya, this teaching and this training. That is what is to take as so after the Buddha passed away, there never was a sort of a successor to the Buddha who was appointed. It was always the teaching and the training, and that is something that has been passed on and is still accessible today. This Dhamma, this Vinaya, this teaching, this training, the way of practice, way of living is still available to us. And so that's the conduit into the qualities of the Buddha. So that we, as Ajahn Chah used to say, the Buddha is still here. And yes, I mean, the historical Buddha has passed away, but say that Buddha principle of awakening and awakened knowing is always present. We have that opportunity to access it. And of course, it takes a whole lot of training and guidance and kind of trial and error, a certain humility and making mistakes and learning from them. And that's how we learn. That's how anybody learns. You see what works and see what didn't work, and you learn from it. And I remember one time Ajahn Tomato being kind of frustrated at what like this Dhamma Vinaya and these teachings and the rules. The Vinaya means sort of discipline training, but it's particular has a meaning toward the monastic rules of conduct, and has a wider application as well. But what is this? Because sometimes frustrating to have all these kind of rules, and it feels like constraints. And Ajahn Chah sort of said, well, you have to realize that they say, like, the Vinaya is all about holding on. Say the training or the rules or kind of precepts or forms of discipline. It's all about holding on. Dhamma is all about letting go. And when you learn how to, the two of those qualities or principles work together and they really come into harmony and balance, that is when the realization occurs. That's when awakening can occur. So it's like learning how to balance those qualities within our heart. You're recognizing, because there is this sense, okay, I just want to relinquish, I want to let it go, I don't want to hang on to these material things or my views and opinions, and I just don't want to have to deal with it. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's balanced. Same with okay, I've got these rules, or I got these conventions that I want to follow, or I want this way of practice that I want to just stick with. And is it actually balanced? Well, oftentimes not. So just learning how to balance those qualities. And so that there's this sense of learning how to live and embody Dhamma Vinaya, the teaching and the training, being interested in studying and learning. And I think that sense of having the tradition and having say, ceremony and ritual, like, is it a ritual? Is it a ceremony once a year to come and offer cloth and come to the monastery? Yeah. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Is it helpful and useful? Yeah, absolutely. Because it gives occasion for people to gather and to support each other. That's one of the things that I think particularly think in terms of pandemic. Probably the thing that people are most missing is the opportunity of contact in a really positive way, support in a emotional support, the support of like encouragement and warmth of human communal contact and engaging together, because that's we're pretty hardwired as human beings to live together, and that's one of the things that say the Buddha's teachings, besides the say solitary meditation and say investigations of reality. That's really solid teachings about how to live together skillfully, so that the aspects of say like communal harmony, the Buddha places a tremendous amount of importance on the different, and there's many different teachings on that, the ways of developing communal harmony. One that pops to mind is just in terms of our interactions of by body, by speech, and by mind, in that they're grounded in loving kindness, so that engaging in acts together of say physical action is grounded in loving kindness, say, as opposed to either selfishness or aversion or kind of divisiveness. There's a sense of kindness. It is your reference point. And when one is actually doing that, and the same with speech, as well as thoughts. There's this trying to return to that principle of loving kindness, and loving kindness isn't. I mean, it's so many of the Buddhist principles or fundamental kind of themes that the Buddha teaches about are sometimes hard to express in English, because even the word that we use as loving kindness has much more a connotation of well-wishing. Because sometimes you say loving kindness, or you're going to have these loving thoughts towards somebody. Somebody can be, oftentimes people can be really irritating or frustrating, which is, that's not a reason to not wish them well. You might not have the most loving thoughts towards them, but you can wish them well, and you can treat them kindly, and so that nuance or that distinction opens up huge possibilities. So that sense of when we're engaging in actions by body, by speech, by mind, returning to those principles of loving kindness, that well-wishing, that sense of consideration, that understanding that nobody responds well through aversion. If it doesn't matter how reasonable it sounds, if you say something out of aversion and ill will, the response is almost invariably going to be, it's just going to not be very smooth. It's not going to be very beautiful. It's not going to be comfortable. So that returning to that principle of loving kindness, also the sense of non-aversion. That's what the Lupa Samedo used to use that for the longest time. I think when he first came to his early years of teaching in the West, teaching in England, trying to sort of lift up lofty ideals of loving kindness was sort of, but it would seem so unreachable. But to encourage people to not dwell in aversion, okay, that's doable. I can do that. I can not sort of feed aversion or just get caught in aversion. So that dwelling in non-aversion. So that there's these aspects of our actions of body, speech, and mind. Just loving kindness, dwelling in that is conducive to communal harmony. The sense of being willing to share whatever one has with others, and that's that sense of sharing, of giving, and that sometimes when the Buddha teaching the monks about that sort of sharing, and as a bit, even if it's to the say alms food in your bowl, to be willing to share that, so that whatever we have, we're willing to share, we're willing to give, we're willing to not just think of me first, but being able to share, looking out for the needs of others, looking out for the sense that say when there's something that needs to be done, because the sharing is also being willing to share our efforts and attention. I can things that need to be done all the time, whether one's in the monastery or whether at work or at home. It's always things that need to be done. Can I help? Can I give of my attention and my time and my effort to help others? And so I can share in so many areas. It doesn't even necessarily have to be of a material nature. But it's that sharing of attention and being willing to help each other out as human beings. One's recognizing, here we are in this human condition, and it's not comfortable for anybody. We begin coming into the world wailing, and we spend the rest of the time grumbling, complaining, and then we die. So this being willing to help each other out and be attentive to each other's needs, giving and sharing, and then also drawing close to those who one shares there's like a shared appreciation of virtue, that where that drawing close to those there, that's really conducive to harmony, in the sense that, and it's not how do you say, self-righteous. I'm purer than you. I keep better precepts than you, whatever. No, but it's a shared appreciation of values that are grounded in virtue or in integrity. So that, because it really is uncomfortable to spend time with around people who are really not much integrity, and it's not a judgment. It just is well, it is, but but you have to exercise some kind of recognition that it has a different effect. It affects me differently if I spend the more time I spend with somebody who is really not very virtuous, doesn't live their life with much integrity. Yeah, it's agitating. It's not peaceful. It's not settling. It's not illuminating. It doesn't brighten the heart. So so it's a very practical sense. This is the effect, and the effect that I really seek in my life is something that really brightens my heart. And the same with say with view, like drawing close to others that have similar views, similar values, similar perspectives on the world. And again, then the nature of human beings, that we're all going to have a variety of views and perspectives, but there's kind of themes that are important to us, that are really important, and we want to draw close to those who we share that similar values, and so that in terms of say from a Buddhist perspective, the word is ditti, and views, and it's views, opinions, but we have to have some kind of view. It's just not some kind sort of blotted out kind of nothing in the mind. That's not how we function. So that, but recognizing, no, this is what's of value to me. This kind of worldview, this kind of world perspective, this kind of perspective of what is really important in life. This matters to me, and I want to draw close to others who have similar values. It's again, one isn't sort of using it as a club or to judge others, but it's more like, no, in a very real sense, it affects our well-being and our lack of well-being, our agitation. So that he's paying attention to things that do support this sense of communal harmony and of course the say the Buddha's establishing of say a Katina ceremony it does that's one of its main functions and one kind of function and as well as demonstrating. Like by the end of this week, many people will have come through, and the link is drawing close to Buddha Dhamma Sangha, drawing close to the community, drawing close to the teachings, and drawing close to each other as community members that have a sense of appreciation for the Buddha's teaching. So that's something to really delight in and have a real sense of joy. As sometimes Dhamma practice can be pretty joyless, and if it's too much up in the head, it ends up being not very joyful. So that bringing the practice back to how do we live it, how do we interact with it, how do we implement it into our daily life, and then allowing that to be a source of well-being and happiness. So today people have gathered and taken precepts together, made offerings together, and joined in the ceremonies. And it's just to express my appreciation and my Hanamoto to all of you.
Sadhu, 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 anumodami. Thank you, Longpa, for those reflections. Did anybody have any questions? In a few minutes. There's a few new people here, possibly. Yes. Now? Now is the time.
I found this in my hometown, but
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you. He mined it himself.
Yeah.
Oh. Did you use your archaeology hatchet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geology hammer.
Geology hammer. That's it. Archaeology hatchet. He wasn't looking for dinosaurs, just good stones.
Kevin has a question.
Kevin.
As part of my practice, I recite the daily contemplations, the daily reflections.
Mm.
And yeah, started to wonder about the language used around karma and its relationship to family,
Mm-hmm.
born, heir, related, supported, and if you can speak to that, do you see that as something, I mean, I assume it's intentional, but how intentional, or do you see implications of that?
Well, I would think this. Yeah, I never really thought of it before, but I think there is.
That's what
Yeah, there's kind of a familial sense. Yeah, born and become related to come abide, supported by. So that they're and again, you realize, okay, this is actually our community, is our actions, and that's the community that we build, or the family that we build, and we create those relationships. I mean, it's a bit of an extension to the actual, say, blood relations that we have, but you realize everything ends up being related through our how we perceive it and how we interact with it, because everything has a result. So yeah, that's a part of that language is probably pretty deliberate on the Buddha's part, because those 5 recollections are very much right out of the Buddha's words from the canon. So, and the Buddha was amazingly articulate in his choice of language. So, yeah.
I'd like to point out some of the craft things that go into this Katina setup. One of our friends yesterday, Chow, made these things. These are made by a friend of ours. It's banana leaves and flowers. What was the name in Thai?
By sea.
By sea.
Yeah.
By sea. And it's quite a skill. And yeah, these are toyon berries. Yeah. So it's like a mixture of east and west. It's banana leaves with toyon berries. Just some of the craft that goes into things like Katina is worth pointing out, because that's also part of our practice, is doing things well. Kong te.
Oh,
Yeah,
These
those
are
real
these
flower
are real
wreaths.
flowers?
Yes.
Yeah.
on top, but fake in the bottom.
Any plastic, any compare. Next year also.
Yeah, take offer yesterday.
Also, we're just one of the on this coming Saturday, Lumpur Liam, his monastery, they'll be doing a Katina, which I've never witnessed myself. I've heard of it before, but the villagers start months before and start planting the cotton, and they plant the cotton, they grow the cotton, they harvest the cotton, they do whatever you're supposed to spin it, make the threads, then they weave the cloth, then they offer the cloth, and then so it begins right from the planting the seeds, and it's considered very, very special in Thailand, and this year it's going to happen at it's happened at Wat Pah Pong before, at Ajahn Chah's monastery. This year, Ajahn Liam, he spent the last few years building a monastery in his home village, and has been living there basically the last couple years. And so this year it's going to be this special, they call it Chula Katin.
Do they bring the thread or they bring the raw cotton?
Oh, I think it's already woven. It needs to be woven and offered as a
So it's
cloth.
the cotton thread is what they bring on the day.
They bring the woven cloth, I think.
Yeah.
I think they pick the cotton and then do the whole process within the same day.
Within the same day, my goodness.
Wow, how's that possible?
Oh, so yeah, it's got to. So that needs a lot of people helping out.
That's a super Katina.
Yeah, super Katina.
That's amazing. It's sort of bags of raw cotton.
Yeah. Wow.
And Ajahn, also by sea, it means when you inviting the deva, so the deva will leave each one of it. So like this means like all together become one.
Oh, okay.
And on top of that by sea, it means like very monotone.
Okay.
And they have ceremonies.
So it's a deva landing place for each of these.
You have to look at it. Who is that?
Okay. Deva Airport.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, people can come up and take a look after. Somebody had a question there? Yes.
Yeah, so I have a family.
Yep.
We got soccer practice, work.
Yep.
Christmas lights, we're getting ready for Christmas now. And so and I sit at night, I read the Dhamma books, listen to the podcast.
Yep.
But then at the end of the day, there's like that doubt. What am I doing? You know, am I going on this path?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I come here and I feel so good talk. I've seen, I've listened to you guys, and you're real, you know, and it's like, what am I doing? Do I have the right effort? How do I know I have the right effort? And it becomes this doubt.
Yep.
And I don't know, do I just keep pushing through? I want to ask questions like, the answer can be discernment, you know? There's always the answer discernment. It's like, how do I know? And I think I don't know.
Yeah. And
that becomes the doubt, and then I doubt my practice.
Yep.
And I start rambling.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to recognize that, one, you do know in the sense that you know when you feel calm or when you feel agitated. You know that. You know when you feel happy or when you feel sad. You know that. And so the Buddhist, and that's the fundamental basis for the Buddha's teachings. Like when the Buddha right from the get-go, when he started teaching, he used the Four Noble Truths as a basis, so that understanding that there is suffering and there is an end to suffering. There is discontent and there is an ending of discontent. There is dis-ease and there is that which is really easeful. So that he brought the teachings to a place of experience as opposed to a place of say, ideal or say, conceptualizing what it should be or could be or what might be. And I think particularly for us as Westerners, our default option is to go to the ideas and to be, and the Buddha's teaching always trying to remind us to come back to the experience. And we can trust that because the ideas, there's lots of room for doubt. You can drive a truck through those those ideas. Feeling is the experience is much more that's tangible, and we can pay attention to that, and we can learn from that, and we can keep working from it. It doesn't mean we're going to get it right all the time, but we've got a handle on it. and it's like coming back, and one gains confidence in that when one recognizes, yeah, this feels good, this feels right, or well, this really feels bad. I need to avoid that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the Buddha also praised raising a family righteously, but what we don't want to do is like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So, but whatever we do, if we do it completely, there's no doubt that it's wholesome. So if we become monks, we do it completely. If you're going to raise a family, do it completely. And if you do it completely, there's no doubt that it's good.
Yes.
Buddha always Buddha talk about choosing the middle path. But how do I know that this is the middle path? This is not the right.
Same thing. You're trying to think. You're trying to get a conceptual answer of what the middle is, and there's no resolution with thought. The middle path is always in terms of what is it that's going to lead to increased well-being and happiness and decreased suffering and difficulty. It's on an experiential level.
Like riding a bicycle. It's like the balance, the middle way is that quality of balance. And if you're out of balance, then you've either fallen off to the left or you've fallen off to the right. But if it's balanced, then you can ride your bike. It's not an idea. It's not a concept. It's like, are you on your bike or are you on the ground? You know?
Yep. It's a moving target, but that's why you get a feel for it as opposed to having an idea about it.
You can't learn to ride a bicycle by reading a book about it. You've got to get on the bike and start moving.
And you'll fall over. You know, it's just part of it. It's part of the deal.
If we're afraid of falling over, we never want to fall over, we'll never learn.
Yeah.
Never learn how to do it.
Shelley.
When do you think the next Buddha is coming? Why is that funny?
300 million years.
Give or take 1 million years.
A long time.
Well, I mean, we live in an era where the Buddhist teachings are still available. We are in a blessed era. And from, say, Buddhist cosmology sense, we're living in a blessed era because the teachings are still here. Doesn't feel like it, does it?
They're predicting Buddhism to decline.
Yeah.
Not us.
Yes. Well, they say a lot of things.
But what's your sense? What's your sense of what's happening?
I don't have a sense at all. I got better things to do.
Luang Por Ban talked about that. At his funeral, I watched on the live stream, they played his final Dhamma talk. It's quite moving. And he talks about how people are all wondering, how long is Buddhism going to last? And it's like, oh, the different Kruba Ajahns say like 5,000 years. So we're about halfway through and so on. He said, well, whether it lasts 5,000 or 5 million years, all that matters is will it last for you? And if you stop practicing, then the sasana ends for you. But if you keep practicing, it'll keep going.
You were talking about Dhamma and Vinaya, teachings and the training.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, when you think of the training for a lay practitioner, what do you have in mind other than, say, the precepts?
Well, there's a whole range of. I mean, of course, the precepts are a solid foundation. But yeah, all of the meditation practices, all of the teaching. I mean, implementing the teachings around, we'll say, like communal harmony, which is what I talked about, and then yeah, there's a whole range. There's things of sort of the Buddha, of course, puts an emphasis on right livelihood. And so how one, and then different responsibilities and duties that one has towards whether it's family members or colleagues in terms of work, different aspects of relationships within the society and the culture. So those are all form a part of a training, and because it concerns our relationships of body and speech. So that's what comes to mind off the top of my head.
Yeah, how to be a good friend.
Yeah, how to be a good friend. There's some many different discourses that the Buddha gave on how to be a good friend in that sense, but kalyanamitta, and both how to be a good friend, how to discern a good friend, and because the Buddha did place huge importance on these good spiritual friendships or good spiritual companions being really integral to our growth and development in Dhamma.
So, one more question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last night at the first Tuesday reading, I pointed out feelings, and I think it was saying related analogy of birth control to stop them from becoming aversion or desire. And my understanding of that from the Buddhist information, it's speaking about the feminine. I was wondering if you could, someone could speak more to that. Information, and it just really get home from me. Oh, that's what's happening.
Well, essentially, it's a distinguishing between liking something and wanting to own it, to have it, or disliking something and contending against it or wanting to get rid of it. So the feeling of liking and disliking, or neutral feeling, that in itself, that is quite possible to be quite fully mindful and aware of that without a lot of confusion. So even an arahant has feelings. The fully enlightened Buddha feels dislike and like and pleasant, sweet tastes, bitter tastes, comfort and discomfort. When the Buddha was 80 years old, he had chronic pain. He points out the only way he can feel comfort is to completely absorb his mind into emptiness. Otherwise, he's experiencing painful feeling. Like he says, his body's like an old cart, held together with straps and strings. And so that feeling of pain or feeling of pleasure, it's totally possible to be mindful of that and be unconfused about that. when I think when with the question time yesterday discussing that, it's when the mind, as it were, crosses the bridge from I like to I want, or I dislike to I can't stand, I've got to get rid of, I hate. Then that quality of mindfulness is being lost, and that and if there's very little mindfulness from the get-go, then the bridge is crossed very quickly, so that the mind very easily goes from I like to I want, I got to have, this is great, how can I get more of it, and so that's where we in Buddhist psychology would say being born into that liking that particular sense object or disliking that object, blaming that physical pain or that irritating person for being the cause of all your problems. If only that person, if only you weren't there, I would be happy. If only this pain disappeared, I would be happy. The mind gets born into that particular experience, and the rest of the world the universe is screened out. There's the thing that I want that's going to make me happy, or the thing that I dislike that's making me unhappy, and if I can get rid of it, then happiness will be found. So that, but using that and that languaging of birth control, it was one of the spiritual birth control was the title of one of the Amaravati Sunday talks. We come up with catchy titles to these things. The spiritual birth control is like the easiest place to control the birth is at that feeling, conditioning, craving, to not cross that bridge, so that that contact of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, pleasant or painful or neutral, it's not grasped in an unskillful way, but it's known, even an intensely painful feeling like this really hurts. Like when Lumpur Prasanno broke his hip or his pelvis, and he was taken into Ubon Hospital. He had a little accident on Arms Round one morning, little adventurous.
That was the day before.
He broke his pelvis in Thailand, and the doctors wouldn't believe that he'd broken had this serious injury because he was so calm about it. And he said, you couldn't be like that if you'd broken your pelvis. You haven't broken your pelvis, and but it was because if you allow me to praise you in public, he was. It's like you can't have broken it because you'd be screaming. You'd be But he said it really hurts, but I'm not screaming. It hurts, and then it turned out that it was broken. His pelvis was broken, but. If you sufficiently train the mind, then, or like the Buddha himself, that he had chronic back pain. He was in feeling pain most of the time, but he knew how not to make a problem out of it. Sometimes in the suttas, he's giving a Dhamma talk, and he'll say, "Sariputta, my back is paining me. I'm gonna go and lie down to rest my back. The assembly is still awake. Please carry on giving a Dhamma talk. I'm going to rest my back." Or that he would give a Dhamma talk leaning against a pillar in the middle of the Dhamma hall, because it was the pain from his body was intense. So he knew it was there. He would work with it, and he would take action to ameliorate the painful feeling. But he knew how not to create suffering out of it. And so similarly with pleasant experiences, we can have something that is really beautiful, really delicious, a lovely piece of music or something that we delight in on the sensory level. Or a meditation experience and say, wow, that is so beautiful. That is absolutely glorious. That's delightful. So you can leave it. You're not pushing it away. You're not grasping hold. The mind's not identifying with it. It's just that beautiful experience. There's no effort to try and keep it or own it or write a poem about it. It's just this, and I think I think I was maybe saying yesterday, it's a mysterious thing. I mean, it's a frequent subject that I talk about, but that when the mind doesn't try to grasp that beautiful feeling, as William Blake put it in one of his poems, "He that kisseth a joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise." If you kiss the joy as it flies, then you really enjoy it. He that binds himself to a joy doth the winged life destroy. You try and keep that joyful, beautiful quality, you end up spoiling it, destroying it by the very effort to keep it and own it and be it, to have it. So that that birth control, not that I'm against families and propagation of the human race, but that kind of psychological birth control is to do with training the heart to abide in that spaciousness of perception and feeling, just to know that as it is. And that's, in a way, how we really enjoy our life, even with painful and difficult experiences. There's an ease and a rightness, an all-rightness with everything. That the mind isn't trying to get away from anything or be somewhere else. It's open to the present reality, irrespective of whether it's painful or pleasant or neutral experience. So that in terms of practicing Dhamma, training the heart to know pleasant feeling just as that, painful feeling just as that, neutral feeling just as that, and to be open to that without creating papancha, complication around it, then the life is continually joyful, even when it's painful. Yeah, it's totally okay. As like Master Xuanhua would say, everything is okay. So that's the short version of spiritual birth control.
We'll end with the verses of sharing aspiration. For anybody who knows it, you're welcome to follow along, or if anybody has a chanting book, it's on page 33 of volume 1 of our chanting book. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice. And through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everybody. And that completes Katina Day 2.